This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hose.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. Well, first of all, I don't know if you know this, but I promised everyone that the best question picked by you, not me, can't be by me, because then people try to bribe me and stuff, gets a copy of a new product I'm going to be creating. Well, it'll be published in about 2 months. A $986 price tag on this. It's just a book. There's no audio, video, or PDF. Yes, I know this breaks every rule of conventional direct response marketing. That's fine. But we'll get whoever asks the best question, according to you, Jonathan, gets a free copy of that when it's published. That's my intro.
That's a handy little intro. All right. So I'm just going to see, let's see if I can make this guy live.
And if not, we can just read these. It's probably easier anyway. People tend to talk too slow.
That's what I think too.
Gum up time. Let's just take the questions from here. It's easy.
Okay.
And then you can skim them. We don't have to screw around with this crap.
All right, we'll just start at the top then here. This is Kevin Waterman. Can you see the questions or should I just read it to you?
Well, I'm looking at chat. That's different than questions, right?
No, the chat is where they're dropping them, I think. Oh, there's also Q&A. Holy crap. We got more than we bargained for. Oh,
yeah, this is
the Q&A. All right. People, look at them. They know how to use this better than us. All right. Kevin Waterman, if you went back to when you were getting started, why is this thing moving when I'm reading? In business, how did you feel about the business? How did you feel about yourself at that point? What did you do to grow? What did you do to overcome and build confidence in yourself?
Kevin, I think you're capable of asking a much better question than this. I really do. I'm teasing. I'm going to troll every question that comes in so that nobody knows the best ones. Yeah, I know. Every time someone asks a new question, it scrolls a little. So I'm trying to keep it up there. Okay, so when I first got started, it was in this business was 16 years ago. Almost exactly 16 years ago. And I'm trying to keep it in front of me here. How did I feel about I don't feel, Kevin. I don't have a heart. I don't have emotions. Actually, I was actually really excited. You know, when I first discovered direct response copywriting and marketing, I went from MLM, which I hated, to that. That was really exciting. So I jumped into this. To me, it was never something that I was scared of or anything. I was really excited to do it. Even though I had no clients or anything going, I mean, I just dived into it, studied everything I get my hands on over and over and over. I had no money at all at the time. So I think that helped. I think that was actually a huge advantage because I didn't waste money on nonsense and horse shit and all that. And so if I got Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Sales Letter book, for example, I read it literally 10 times because it's all I had. So I think that was, I know you didn't ask this, but that's kind of what was going through my head at the time. What did you do to overcome and build confidence in yourself? The best way to do that is to specialize in something and become the best you can be at it. And the confidence just comes naturally. All right, next question.
Well, no, you know what? I want you guys to go back. If you guys haven't been following Ben, for a while, go back and look at his emails from 2008 and stuff like that. It's just that practice every day. That's what's going to build your confidence. I'm adding on to your answer there, Ben, but we kind of laugh about it. Ben, you wrote this? Seriously? All right, next question.
I'll tell you this, though. Even back then, I think my emails were better than most today. It doesn't say very much for today's email. So if I could do it, anyone can do it. All right.
Andre, my question, what are the absolute non-negotiable must-haves you should know about any market you're looking to sell products or services to?
Well, you need to know it all. I don't know if it's all a must-have. I want to know even the most obscure stuff. I want to know all the main stuff, obviously. But you got to remember this one. If you ask somebody, this is an old sales thing. you ask somebody a question and they never give you the real answer, right? When like Jonathan, when you're trying to sell someone to rent one of your places, why would you like to rent this place? Well, because it's a good school district. That's always, but then you go, well, in addition to that, is there something else? Then suddenly the emotional reason comes out. Well, I'm actually really broke and yours is the only place I can afford.
My landlord was a prick, all of that.
All that stuff. So that's what I'm saying. So you want to dig everything out of your market. The most obscure small thing can actually turn into an email or a bullet point or a headline or something that turns a lot more sales. So there's no must-haves. It's all a big must-have. And you should be saturating yourself with whatever it is you need to know about your market, which is everything. And that's a very comprehensive answer, but that's the way it is.
All right. RC. I know Dolly Parton. No, she says Dorothy Parton. Implores people not to trust.
What do you think in there?
I don't know. No small town lawyer, but I am one of those. I am a solo practicing real estate planning attorney in East Texas. There's a huge need for these services. 70% of Texans, well, why did that skip? Have no will or trust. Most of those cannot afford to go to a traditional law firm. Would your methods work to hit that particular market, especially if I could put together sets of affordable plans?
Absolutely. It'll work for anything. So anyone who wants to ask, will it work for my thing, that the blanket answer is yes, and you've already been disqualified from winning the best question. But I still answer his question. Who was that? I forget his name. I don't know if it was, I forget. It was a life insurance guy. And this guy sold life insurance, right? Which is not all that different than what he's doing here, wills and all that. And his whole thing was you got to make them see the hearse pull up to the curb. So all you got to do is give them a vision of all the crap that's going to happen because they don't have a will or an estate and all that. There's an ad. I don't know where you'll find it. Maybe you can find it somewhere. David Deutsch wrote it, actually. And the headline is How to Not Disinherit Your Children. And it was selling an estate book. I highly recommend finding that and reading it, especially since you're in that business. And I think you'll get a lot of ideas on how to sell to that market, and even in Texas.
There it is. So there's some people here kissing your booty.
That's always good. I've washed it thoroughly today. And you know what? I'm going to give a plug to my favorite soap company. This because I want to I've been talking to the guy who owns the place, and they have the best soap I've ever used in my entire life. Like, I look forward to washing my ass now, just so people can kiss it. And this guy's like, hey, I want you to be an affiliate, which I would love to be an affiliate, but how do you sell soap to my list, right? It's like, so I'm still talking about that. But in the meantime,
it works, Ben. You just use daily emails and tell them how their booty will not get kissed if it's
yeah, I could go with that, I suppose. And but it's called LolaandDoe.com, LOLA and DOE.com. I highly recommend their stuff. I think I got my mom like $500 of various soap stuff for birthday. She goes, I would never need to buy soap again, but it's good stuff. So I just wanted to plug that because you mentioned my ass getting kissed, and I did use Lola and Doe to do it. So there you go.
Lovely. All right. So Larry, did Ben recently kick Stephanie's ass? I joined her email list months ago, waiting for some good daily emails, and she finally started doing it recently.
Well, I didn't kick her ass. Okay, so this is an interesting question because what she teaches is what's called biz typology. And now she's mostly draws upon the Myers-Briggs, but there's definitely flaws in that. But that's what she uses that for most of her stuff. And it's interesting that this question, because the reason you haven't heard from her is because she's what's called a P, right? And like I'm a J, so you hear from me every day. I'm dogmatic about it. She's a P. She's sporadic. She's all over the place. They just kind of float around and do stuff. But when they do hone in on stuff, they do a magnificent job of it. And that's how she is. So she's doing daily emails. She has ideas. She's got really, really cool stuff coming up. But, she's a P. So you can't hold that against her. But you notice that the emails she was putting out are pretty damn good. And she was selling my 10-minute workday and all that. And she's doing a magnificent job. But I didn't have to kick her ass or anything. She did it all on her own. So good for her.
No shaming involved. All right.
No shaming needed.
I think this could have qualified for a best question if they actually put their name in there. Why is the simplicity of Ben's daily email difficult to fathom?
Because everybody thinks that if it's simple, it can't possibly work, right? Like, here's the reality. The reality is I could tell you exactly how to create a 7-figure business in like 2 sentences, but it would be nothing. It's kind of like when Gene Schwartz wrote the ad for Marty Edelston, the first one that's launched boardroom reports and all that. He said he wrote it in like 2 hours, but he waited 2 weeks to give it to Marty because he would have thought it wasn't worth anything. And unfortunately, this is just how human beings are. So, but the reality is the more simple something is, the more likely you're going to implement it and do it. This is why I say everywhere, I got to have all these funnels and all this stuff. You know, it's interesting. I noticed this recently, and I don't think Russell Brunson's on this call or not, but I realized he's the gateway drug to me.
Really?
Now, here's the reason why, and I really believe because he actually uses very complex funnels and he's really good at it. Like, he's probably the best that I know it. But a lot of the newer people come to him and they're like, what the hell? I don't know. Like, what do I do? So then suddenly he tells them about me, and they come to me and they're like, oh, thank God. Okay, Ben, you got me. So it's like he's the gateway drug to me, and then I'm the gateway drug back to him. I really believe that, because until you get the simple stuff down, you can't really do complicated. But most people want to start at complicated and they need simple. So it's kind of a weird thing. The best thing anybody can do is start saying, how can I make this break? Any plan you have down should be break it down into one sentence. You know, they do this with screenplays, by the way, or like TV guides and all that. Before you write a screenplay, all these screenwriters I used to study would say, can you break the story down into one sentence? Now, if you think you can't do that, you're not thinking very hard. Paul Hartunian does this great because he teaches you how to write press releases. And you only have like one page to get your thing down, right? He goes, you want to tell your entire story in the first sentence. And he goes, how do you do that? He goes, well, I can tell the story of the entire Revolutionary War in one sentence. We fought the British lost. And that's my shout out to Dan Meredith, by the way, and anyone else living in there. But always keep it as simple as you can, and you cannot go wrong. So there you go.
All right, Paul, when creating an information product, how do you create one where you're not a perceived expert in a market that has many 10-year plus expert gurus? And how do you position yourself right in that market? So positioning question.
You know, Paul, I think we talked about this, didn't I? I mean, I don't know if you can't really answer me, but he's one of the few people I've actually got on Skype and consulted with. Now you're like, what? How do I do? First of all, because I'll tell you something about Paul, this bastard Paul. Okay. And I mean that in an affectionate way, but I still hate him for the same reason. When I sold Brian Kurtz's Titans of Direct Response DVDs last year, it's the last time he ever sold them. He was one of the customers. And in one of the emails, out of like 18 emails I sent that week, I said, look, if you can, I tease something about Jay Abraham, one of them, something he talks about. I go, if you can find if you can show me how you used what he taught, you know, I'll give you a free hour on the phone. And he's the only one who did it. And I was like, this asshole, because you weren't actually supposed to do this. That's why I don't like Tail, by the way. Because then he came to me like 8 months later. I'm like, oh God, I get it. But to answer his question, well, you gotta be a specialist. I know in Paul's case, now I'm going to give his business away. I don't know if he wants me to or not. He was trying to get in the real estate investing niche, right? I'm going on memory here, which is a huge niche, right? And it's like you have a lot of competition, and there are a lot of big names. But this guy is very, very good at flipping mobile homes. Like, he's really good at it, and he's been doing it for years. And I said, why aren't you just honing down and specializing in that? Like, you're the man. You've been doing it for 20 years or whatever. And as far as I know, he did. And that is, to answer his question, is to just say what I told him to do originally. You find out you break off a piece of the market that you can own, that you can control. And if you don't have a lot of experience, then sometimes you got to create a product based around someone else's experiences. So that's a whole other ball of wax I don't want to get into. But you can always leverage the credibility of other people. And I mean, you could do it by creating a product where you just interviewed a bunch of people on that subject who all do have credentials. Then you instantly get their credentials for your advertising. So that's one way to do it. Let's go on to the next one.
All right. So, Tim, did you choose a newsletter business because you didn't have any follow-up after people have bought?
No, so I got in this business in 2002. And I love the idea of print newsletters. I was on Dan Kennedy's No BS newsletter before he sold it to whoever, and then it got like watered down or whatever. I don't know what it is now, but it's not what it used to be. I was on John Carlton's print newsletter list at the same time back then. I read Gary Halbert's newsletter. Even today, I'm on multiple print newsletter lists because I like the medium. Like right now, I got 4 Paul Hartunian newsletters I haven't even opened yet, going back like to May. By the way, there's a lesson here. I have a stack of these that I'll just binge read when I can. And for people who oh, I can't do email players because I haven't read the last 2 issues. You pussy. I got 4 of these. Like, that's not the point. You read them, you implement them. That's all. Because I've gotten like one idea just from this. And this is publicity. So I don't even do publicity. Although I will be using this for getting on podcasts next year more and stuff. But I haven't really used this stuff. But he gives ideas that I have been able to use. I got one idea from one of his issues last year. I don't remember what it was, but I remember making a lot of money. And I was like, holy crap, I'm really glad I read this. So I just like print newsletters. I like the fact that I can take it around. It's portable. The people I sell to prefer it. Now, there's always these digital nomad types who like travel. They're never in the same spot. I don't even understand that life, so I don't care to sell to them. Like, I don't understand their needs and everything. So if they want to subscribe, great. I can get it to wherever they're at. But they always complain, oh, can't you do digital? I'm not doing digital. It's a physical thing. Plus, it has built-in direct mail attached to it. Every time I send an issue out, I can put a ride-along, which is just something the catalog industry has done for years, where I put an offer for something else in an envelope that's already going out to people. So to me, it's very simple. I like it. And the reason, now, let me tell you something I did wrong with email players. And I kick myself to this day. So when I was putting together the book that I'm going to be giving to whoever asked the best question today, it's called The Affiliate Launch Copynomicon, by the way. That's the name of the book. And yes, I used the name from the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, from the Evil Dead movies. That's what I based it. And I have the brilliant Kia Arian, who does all the design stuff for Dan Kennedy. She's doing the cover. It's taken her like 2 months because she's trying to get it really weird for me and everything. It's really cool. But in that book, I talk about, I believe, and if I don't talk about it, I probably should have, when I did email players, I only had a list of 3,000 people at the time. I went back in Aweber and looked, and I only sent 4 emails during the launch. So that alone is like, slap myself for that. Like nowadays, I would have sent like 15 to 20 emails. I still got like 83 subscribers to a $100 a month newsletter on the launch using 4 emails to a list of 3,000 people. And the reason I'm kicking myself is because I never put any back-end offer in any of those issues back then. I didn't start doing a catalog until 4 or 5 issues then. But even worse than that is I didn't have any one-click upsells set up, which is just like, it's a tragedy. It's like I could have probably doubled my profits that weekend. So I just throw that out there. It doesn't matter if you have a print newsletter or whatever you do. Don't forget your one-click upsells. It's just like the easiest thing in the world. And it's pure laziness not to do it. It's literally, do you want fries with that? And it's free. It's like free money. Anyway, on to the next one.
All right, Jared. What's your favorite ad? What made it special? And how did it impact your future writing?
There is a sales letter, and I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the interwebs. Okay, I have it in this book called Gary Halbert's 47 Favorite Sales Letters or something like that. These are the 47 sales letters that Gary Halbert used to study. And, it's funny because I think one of his sales letters is in it. It doesn't really matter. One of the sales letters was written by John Carlton, I found out. I thought it was a Gary Halbert. Actually, John Carlton wrote it. And it was for the series of reports called The Crime Connection. And it's like how the coming financial bloodbath, I'm just going to remember the headline, how the coming financial bloodbath caused by cash-rich criminal scum, how you can profit from it. And you read this ad, I swear it's the most fascinating thing I've ever read. Like it even starts out with, would you take money advice from a drug dealer? Well, don't make up your mind too quickly because I have a story to tell you that's like right out of The Godfather. Like went into this weird like story. And I mean, that thing influenced me quite a bit. I wrote it out in my own handwriting several times. I still study it. In fact, I'm at my office now. I just put that book in my bag because I want to actually study some of these ads again. And that was a big one. As far as the ad that I wrote that I had the most fun with, I should say, it was for a product called Law Dog Tactics for Captain Chris Pizzo, which I don't think you can, I don't know what happened. You might be able to find it on Udemy or something, but I just had so much fun writing that sales letter. And if you read it, I think you'll see why. I mean, I literally, it was like therapeutic writing this thing. It was so fun. And so it's called Law Dog Tactics.
All right. This is Blas. I probably butchered that, but I study and implement as much of your content as possible, including email players, and wanted to know, how does one keep from writing and sounding like those who influence them?
Well, at first, you're probably not going to be able to get around it. I mean, especially if you're copying someone's ads out by hand, which I highly recommend, you're going to sound a little like them. But eventually you'll just start automatically inserting your own personality into everything because it won't feel right to you. You'll know that you sound like a fraud, basically. So I think the more you do it, the less of a problem this will be. But unfortunately, it is that way for a lot of people when they start out. But if you always think, would I say this in real life? Just ask yourself, if a sentence seems weird, would I use this sentence in real life if I was talking to a prospect of this? If not, don't use it. Put it in your words. And you should consciously do this until you don't need to. Right now, you're consciously confident about it. You want to get to the point where you're unconsciously confident about it. Where it's like driving a car, you don't even think about it. Like I don't sit there and think, oh God, I hope I don't sound like so-and-so. Now I just, if anything, I'm trying to accentuate my own personality and like add it in more. So it's real simple. Just the more you do, the easier it gets.
All right. Next is CJ, and I'm not sure I quite get it, but maybe you will understand this because you're El Bembo. When starting an email marketing business, how much material, emails, etc., would you recommend having already completed before you launch the business or product?
Well, I would need to know what he means by email marketing business, because
that's what I didn't get. It sounds like he wants to sell email players, just the CJ version.
CJ may not be a guy, by the way. It may be someone I'm thinking of who asked me a couple questions recently related to this. So I don't know if this is you, Krista Johnson, but if it is, let's assume that they're talking about starting their own business using email, right?
Yeah.
What you have to do is you have to pick a market first. This is the first step, is to pick a market. Now, nothing I'm saying here is original for me at all. I learned this from reading the Boron Letters. You're not looking for a product to sell. You look for a market to sell to. Find a market that you are passionate about, and especially something that you see like an injustice in the way people are in, whether it be crappy products or whatever, that you actually get kind of pissed about in some ways. And the more painful the problem, the better. And that's your market. Now you want to go build a list of people in that market. And you can do it all kinds of ways. If you want to do paid advertising is one way. Content marketing on like article sites still works. I don't know why people poo-poo that all the time. Getting on podcasts who do interviews, i.e. not my podcast, because I don't do interviews. But they're great for getting good leads. You're not going to get a lot of leads, but the ones you get are going to be great. Getting out there on Twitter. I'm noticing a growing group of people on Twitter who are really good at building their list using Twitter. And I'm amazed what they're doing. And they actually advertise their daily emails using Twitter, and they put a deadline saying, look, this thing's going out in an hour. Make sure you're on the list. And they tease you onto their list. So they're actually selling you on the daily email that's probably selling you something else, which I think is very smart. If I was more motivated, I'd be doing that. It's another way to do it. I'm going to be actually in the December email players edition. I'm going to talk about my list building, what I'm going to be doing in 2019 and beyond, because I'm getting away from paid advertising completely. I'm not saying people should do that. I think most people should do it, especially if you're in like a list with a mass appeal, or a market with mass audience like thing. I don't. I'm looking for a very specific type of person, and I'm looking to cut people out. So it's like for me, I have to do it a different way. But anybody could still use the ways I'm going to talk about, and none of them are like necessarily fascinating or original, but they do work. So you want to build a list. You want to sell them a product of some kind. Ideally continuity, but if it can't be, that's fine. And then sell those buyers something else. That's the first step. Get that down. And then after that, you can build it up beyond that, and you'll have a nice income stream coming in. And realize something else. In the old school offline ways, it was very hard to make a living just with the front end product. And the internet, you can't. It's like for some reason, you're allowed to do this. Like email players never would have worked offline the way I did it. Like I did no back end or any of that stuff. It did there. But even if you have like a lower ticket thing, Jay Abraham, and I heard Dan Kennedy quote this. I don't know exactly how Jay Abraham put it, but he basically said, the front end is where you make your income. The back end is where you build your wealth. So keep that in mind, whatever you're doing, and build it up, build your back end up correctly. That's the very short answer to it. Hopefully it answers.
Do some squats. All right. That man, Max, if you were starting out, or if you were starting your dating and romantic life all over again in this fun new world of women and tech tools to attract them, how would you go about it?
This is that man, Max.
The one and only. He disappeared for a while, but it seems like he's back.
I noticed Nate Schmidt's on here. He does the thing with Twitter, by the way. I was trying to find that man, Max. Did you already delete his question as the answer?
No, it's right here. I have it highlighted to answer live.
I see something like a Hunger Games question from him. Is there another one on? I just want to have it.
All right. Maybe there is another one. I didn't see the Hunger Games one.
Okay, whatever. So how would I start? Is this question basically how to pick up a chick?
On the internet. I think that's what, yeah.
Well, I don't know if the internet's really the best way. First of all, now we've done whole podcast episodes. If you're using dating sites, you're already talking to the most damaged people in the world. I'm just telling you, the girls on there are damaged. There's no excuse for an attractive woman to be on a dating site, not unless there's something wrong with them. And when I mean something wrong with them, it could be they're still hung up on an ex. They may actually still have a man and they're just on there looking for attention. I've known girls who do that. They may just have some kind of weird hang-ups going on and that they keep self-sabotaging themselves. They may have way too high of standards, which, it happens all the time. So you're like fighting this uphill battle. I'm not saying it'll never work. I'm just saying, like, let that be your back burner way. Don't expect miracles, even if your name is Max. There's no miracle Max way for doing dating stuff. I'll tell you what a good way to do it, especially for people in business. Now, there's somebody watching this who's going to be harumphing me, Stephanie. She's going to get very mad at what I'm about to say. But one of the things, and this was completely an accident, but it did work out, is to create your own Facebook group where your own customers are coming and paying customers. And you will find that a lot of the single ones will have a predilection for you, Max. Because you're the guy and they're teaching them stuff and they're looking for leader. A good woman's looking for leadership. She's not looking to lead you. If she's looking to lead you, she's probably the dating sites, actually. So that's what I would say. Recruit from within your customer base, Max. And you will find it's much easier. I don't know that's how you found Cupcake, Jonathan. But, I find it to be much easier.
I was her customer.
Well, I hope that you don't mean that. No.
I knew as soon as I said it too.
But that's my, and of course, read the Villains book so that I would say if somebody reads the Villains book, they wouldn't even look at internet dating at all. If they did, they would be like it's just fun, and if something happened, fine. But the real life is where the best people are. My experience.
All right. Next up, Jeffrey. Where do you recommend new copywriters start to find paying clients, and how can we position ourselves as someone worth hiring if we have no history or experience?
Okay, so this goes back to picking a specialty. You want to find some kind of specialty. I don't care what it is. You want to make a list and get on the email list of people and direct mail list of companies who are already hiring copywriters like you. So, for example, if you are let's just pick a market. Pick a market, Jonathan. I don't know. Real estate investing? Okay.
Baby diapers.
Baby diapers. Okay. So you would look at baby diaper companies that are actually using copywriting to sell products to. Understand they are already hiring copywriters, or they have someone in-house doing it who probably sucks at it, right? Either way, you don't have to educate them on why they need copywriting, which is what way too many copywriters do. Why are they wasting their time doing that? I'll never know. You want to sell to buyers. So who's already using copy in the thing that you specialize in? Contact those places 3 ways. And I'm talking each one of them, contact them 3 ways. 1, via email. 2, via direct mail. FedEx is ideal. And 3, a follow-up phone call. And I guarantee you, if you do that and you make a big enough list of companies, you will get hired by somebody. And from there, you can, take it from there.
All right. Next up, let's see who we have here. I've got a couple of them. This is fun. No name on this one, but what is the source of your self-confidence?
Who asked this one?
Hello is the name.
Oh, Hello asked, what is the source of your self-confidence? Well, there's no non-X-rated answer to this. I'm just kidding, kind of. Again, I specialize in what I do. I don't try to be all things, all people. I don't try to be the best at everything. I just know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And I don't try to strengthen my weaknesses. I try to make my strengths stronger and outsource all my weaknesses to minions, basically. If you were to read my Villains book, I think this would be more obvious, but I also have mission in life. Having a mission, an all-encompassing goal of what you wake up in the morning thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it. During the day, you're working on it constantly. Even if you're at work, you're thinking about it. You have that. You automatically, and you're going toward it. You're automatically successful, and technically compared to like everyone else, because most people don't even have a goal or mission in life. Now, Earl Nightingale talked about this. Just having that and working toward it makes you more successful than almost everyone else in the world, and you're going to get there. wherever it is. I don't know how long it's going to take, but you're going to get there, which should give you confidence. You know it. There's this movie, one of my favorite movies that all the fanboys hate. It's called Kick-Ass 2. Now, in Kick-Ass 2, these guys all want to be superheroes and all this, and they join they form their own little superhero club. And two of the characters are like walking around high school. They're just automatically more confident because they're part of this thing, you know? And like everyone's looking at them funny when they're like looking at them like in awe as they walk down, not because they even are saying anything different. It's just in the way they carry themselves. They just know they're better than everyone else in that thing that they're doing at least. And there's this kind of private sense of superiority that you have over other people about that which you are specializing in and that which you are going after, which will just make it automatic, where you don't have to think about it. In fact, the more someone has to talk about how confident they are and beat their chest, the more insecure they are. So just go to Facebook if you want to see the examples of anti-confidence and gurus who pretend to be confident, because they're always having to like get validation from everybody. No. You shouldn't need validation from anyone. It doesn't matter. Your validation comes from going after and accomplishing your mission in life. If you do that, it's going to happen regardless of what you want to do or where you're going or who you are. I don't care if you're a man, woman. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're disabled or paraplegic. It doesn't matter. Somebody has already accomplished way more than any of us have, who's had way more challenges than us. And it's because they have that mission and they went after it and they didn't stop. And they're not going to let anything stop them. And there's confidence that comes from that and overcoming the setbacks that are going to get in your way. And it's all experience. It doesn't just happen. You have to go out there and work for it.
All right, Zeb. Now I'm going to paraphrase here, but our universe is crawling with fake BS marketers. Some have brilliant marketing to back their BS up. As a result, the market's been burnt many times over. How do we, the real deal pros, get past this burnout? Do you have a formula we can use to flush out the BSers to help our clients?
Well, there's a lot of markets like that. Golf market, for example, is like that, and that's great. Actually, this is a advantage to you, because one of the things you can do is call out the BS. Like, just call it out. I'm not saying you name names, but you see somebody doing some BS. I do it all the time. Whenever I see some stupid thing being done, I'm the first to call it out and say, this is retarded. This is dumb. I've even gone on, and here's another thing you got to do. And, unfortunately, I'm guessing most of the people who are on this right now do not have the July 2018 email players issue. Those who did understand what I'm about to say. By not being needy, you will automatically do all the things that the skeptics want you to do. And there's no trick to this. There's no 18-point checklist to this. You have to literally not be needy. And you have to be comfortable with saying, look, I'm not the best at this necessarily. Maybe I'm not the best at that. Maybe I can't the sales letter I'm writing right now, for example. And you can't be afraid to like talk about your products and offers flaws. I'm talking the product, this affiliate and launch product, the sales letter right now. I come right out in the beginning and say, look, this is easily the most expensive book in the world about this. There's no question about it. I'm not going to try to hide this, right? I say there's no money back guarantee either. And it's not going to work for anyone who doesn't have a good quality list and who's afraid to mail aggressively. Those are flaws. Most people would be too scared to admit any of that stuff. I not only admit it, that's a part of my sales process. I am being so blatantly transparent, so blatantly honest with them. There's a guy named Barry Maher. He's got a book called something about This Is No Lie, It's How to Tell the Truth, or something like that. You'll find it on there. It's one of the best books you'll ever read on this. Become a master of making the skeleton dance. This is where you taunt your flaws and then you turn it into reasons to buy from you. If you do that, you will never have a problem with that part of the market because you're too honest. Like, you're literally saying things that everyone else, there's no way they can't believe you. And of course, if it's really one of these things that's really skeptical, you're going to have to make it so that there's absolutely no risk and all that. But personally, I don't like selling to people like that. It's like trying to get a damaged girl on an internet site. It's like, why would I go after the damaged people on my list? Like, if they're that skeptical that, all this, that they have to be able to have not only a guarantee, but you be able to they can pre-write their check 30 days in advance, or screw all that. That they're damaged people. I don't want damaged people as my customers personally. But if you're worried about that and those are the people you want to go after, you just have to make it so that there's absolutely no way they cannot believe you. And the way to do that is to be so blatantly upfront about all your flaws and things like that. So there you go.
All right. Jeremy asks, how do you always nail your product names?
Because, okay, so here's another thing I teach in the affiliate launch Copynomic. I might as well start pre-selling this now. The ability to think. I know it's like one of these things that I swear, it's like if you just think and problem solve and don't look for a template for everything and look for a swipe and all this, you will always be seen as an original. Now, it may not always be the most successful idea in the world, but at least it's original. At least, and I know that's like a bad word, right? Because people say, well, you're the pioneers take the arrows and all that. The pioneers are also the ones that got rich. The tenderfoots who came in later, they worked for the pioneers who actually got rich. So I don't know what people want out of this. But you have to be able to think and problem solve. And you got to look at you come at it from unique angles. There's one product that I have a title for that I kind of want to change, actually, because I don't think it's original at all. And I'm like slapping myself for that. So I'm probably going to change the name of it. And that's my email client machine. It's way too derivative of some hypey crap, like some email cash machine or something.
Hey, I bought that.
Yeah, I don't even know anything about the product, by the way. And in fact, for the first person who came up with it, that's great. But it's way too derivative of that. So I'm going to change the name of that. Actually, I'm actually thinking of converting all my info products into books, just books. Because it's so much easier to edit. Editing audio and video and all this crap. And, but I'm actually really thinking about it. We'll see how this affiliate launch Copynomicon goes. If that goes well, just selling a book, I'm probably going to convert everything to just paper and ink books. And that way I can change titles on the fly if I want. But that's the thing. You got to be able to think. Now, here's something else to think about. And Jonathan and I talked about this as we recorded a recent podcast episode that probably won't air until like October or something. He was telling me that when I came out with my villains book, suddenly all of his Podcast Factory hosts, who I won't name, suddenly were villain experts.
I'm a villain.
Everybody's like suddenly a villain, right? And because they were copying me. Now, they weren't doing it necessarily in a lazy way or anything like that. They probably thought, oh, that's a good idea. I'll talk about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But realized that they were reacting to me. I was not reacting to them. I had puppet strings on them. I was making them dance to my tune. And here's the point of me telling you this is that when you have the mindset of a villain, and it doesn't matter, when I say villain, I'm not saying like literally you have to go out, become a super villain or something. I'm just saying like have the mindset. What did they do? What do villains do? Well, they're proactive and heroes are reactive. So if you want to name the best products, you have to be proactive. And then you have to get comfortable with the fact that other people are going to react to you and copy you. But at least you were the one, and your list will know it, who came up with this. I have no doubt some loser will say, oh, I'm going to create a Nomicon book now. It's going to happen. I already know it. But they're reacting to me. And having this mindset of where you're proactive and everyone's reacting to you, and they will react to you because you're being proactive. There's no mystery to this. And being proactive means thinking and problem solving and looking at your market and looking at what's the history of your industry and all these things and mailing your list daily and getting a good feel for what they want, what they're saying. All these things come together and you get to be the proactive one because nobody else is doing this stuff. I guarantee you, nobody else is doing this stuff. I look at what people do like in the various markets I've sold in. Everybody's so reactive. Oh, they're doing that, so we need to do that. It's stupid. You know what? Let's give you an example of this. In the self-defense niche, for Captain Chris Pizzo. Now, he sold that business a few years ago, so I don't know where you'd find this stuff. But he was the biggest in that niche, by far the biggest in that niche. But do you know what all the other self-defense copywriters I knew, who they were studying? They were studying like the place that John Carlton wrote for. I forget what it's called, OPS or something like that. OPH, I can't remember. Which is fine. They were a decent company and all that. But their ads were not going after the best part of the market by any stretch of the imagination. Captain Chris had the intel and the data where we knew who was really buying in that market. It was not the people who read Black Belt magazine and all that. I mean, they are, but they're a small section of it. Captain Chris said, I'm going to go after these other people. It's a much bigger section. And we were proactive about it. Had we been reactive, we would have decided our ads would have looked just like everyone else's and run in the same publications as theirs and all the sites. No, he went completely different because he was proactive, and thus he had a $30 or some $1 million business in there when nobody else was even close to that. all because he was proactive and not reactive. So this goes for everything, not just naming products, but just every aspect of your business.
All right. Kieran writes, having trained in Wing Chun in the past myself, a lot of its principles relate to business and life. What is the biggest lesson you've learned from Wing Chun that you have been applying in the direct response business?
Well, I'll tell you what, and this is the thing I'm not very good at Wing Chun with, and this is one of the things that I struggle with, and I'm constantly trying to get better at, and that is dealing with what is and not what could be. So, and this is actually where the villain mindset works against me, because being proactive means I'm thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead, but in a fight you can't do that because you don't. It's like like the Sherlock Holmes movies, the new ones with Robert Downey Jr. It's funny because he's a Wing Chun like master basically, and his Sifu Oram is like one of the best in the world. But they don't fight using Wing Chun principles very much in that. And as far as he's thinking 18 steps ahead, I'm going to do this, and he's going to do that, and then in the second one he's fighting whatever that guy's name, Moriarty, whatever the hell his name is, and they're trying to outthink each other 100 steps ahead, which is like the worst way to go about it. Because you don't know what someone's going to do. You have no clue. All you can do is take what is and deal with it using the tools that you have. I think this is a invaluable lesson that I've been applying to my daily emails. I do write my emails ahead and all that, but I don't try to guess where the market's going to go anymore. I really don't. I just let it tell me where it's going. And this was a big shift for me just as little as 3 years ago, because I used to be the opposite. And so I think, to me, that's one of the big ones. Another one I learned, and I don't know if this is a Wing Chun principle. I think it's just something my Sifu said that I thought was very profound, is when you master the principles, you can create your own tactics. And I've been doing that with my sales letters and other things. I write, like right now I'm playing around with the headline that there's nothing direct response about it, yet it's 100% direct response. So one of the examples I would give would be the late, great Jim Rutt. He wrote a maglog with the headline, "New Coup for Lou." It's like, new coup for Lou. It does not sound at all direct response. There isn't a single, you'll never see it in a list of 100 best headlines or anything, but this thing just killed everything because he understood the principles in his market so well that he knew they would respond to that combination of words and the dynamics of the offer and all that. So those are a couple things.
All right. Colin asked, how would you structure a book specifically for your market? Do you just take a potpourri of emails, articles, or does it have a specific flow like a long form sales letter?
Well, it depends. Like, for example, the Email Players Rules, Volume 1 is just the first 140 Email Players Rules directly from the transcript of the bensettle.com and Old Antipreneur Show. So, you can do that. It's funny because on Kindle, you always get these hater comments. Oh, they spent $3 on this thing. They act like you just like stole money out of their pocket or something. And, I know it's going to be transcripts. It's like, does it matter? It's like, I once got this 1-star review from this idiot who he read my Blue Chip Email Secrets, which is just like a transcript of me and Michael Senoff talking about email. It's really good info. I used to actually use that as my bribe to join Email Players. It's very valuable. But this guy was so caught up in the fact that there was no table of contents, that it was interview style and there's no chapters to break anything up. He gave it a 1-star review. But then in the same review, he says, but this is actually some of the best email information I've ever read. Now I'm like, this guy's is he retarded? Like, it's like, how do you give that a 1-star review? So I turned it into an email, of course. And then the next day he says, you're right. I given it 4 stars only because of the other stuff. Well, so that made more sense. So my point is, you're going to get people like that. Or if you're doing Kindle, I guarantee it, you're going to get some people. It happens every time. And I have many, many books in at least 3 or 4 different niches where this happens. All unrelated niches to each other. Where you get someone, I could have found all this on Google. Of course, they want to waste 100 hours of their life, to save $3, whatever. They never. So here's why I bring this up. If you're going to go the Kindle route or the Amazon route, doesn't even have to be Kindle, but if you sell on Amazon, make sure in your descriptions you say, if it's a transcript, you say this is a transcript. So if that bothers you, don't buy it. Or there is no table. There's misspellings, whatever the problems are. We go back to admitting the problems. Do it in the description, and anyone who leaves a comment is going to look like a complete idiot. Or even better, and I've done this just to toy it, just because it's fun. I don't know if this helps sales or not, but it's just fun to do it. I won't do that. And I'll just like a regular description. And then I let a bunch of people complain about, the formatting and the spelling. And then I'll go back and revise the description saying, look, don't buy this if you're worried about these spelling and all this, because you're just going to sound stupid. So then people read their review and what do they sound like? Stupid. It's like, so, you got to have fun in this business. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, Sonia, are you ever concerned about offending your audience? And if so, where do you draw the line?
Well, I don't purposely try to offend my audience. I try to mock and offend certain people I don't want as customers. And sometimes innocent people get caught up in the crossfire because of their own internal issues that have nothing to do with me. I wrote an article for AWAI because I'm going to speak at their boot camp this October, their copywriting boot camp. So they wanted me to write an article kind of introducing myself to the audience there and to let them know kind of what I'm going to be teaching. Well, one of the things I'm going to teach is the power of shaming people in sales copy email. And I gave an example that worked really well. And somebody like read it and got offended. Like it seemed like it from their comment. It sounded like they were offended. Oh, this is absolutely dumb advice. Well, see, that person was offended because they couldn't get off the word shame, right? I'm not even talking about pointing fingers. Anyone who reads the article knows this. I'm not talking about being mean to people. But that's like people get in. They have their own internal wiring that just for whatever reason they see what's not there. I actually enjoy offending them. Like to me, it's fun. It's like, what else can I say to keep this going? One person recently emailed me and said, he didn't like that. He basically was complaining because my swipe file link doesn't actually have a swipe file on my website. It's actually a letter from a lawyer saying don't swipe anything, or here's what's going to happen. He got really offended, dropping F words. I actually wrote an email about this earlier in July. And some guy responded to it saying, oh, yeah, I didn't sign up to get information like this. It's like, dude, you're not even paying me. What the hell do I care? So, of course, I wrote more emails like that just to piss people like him off. So I don't try to offend anyone that I want, but I have no problem offending and even trying to offend people I don't want. Some people are into attraction marketing. I'm into repulsion marketing. I want to repulse the people I don't want, which creates a weird attraction for me from the people I do want. And I don't exactly understand how that works. I just know it does. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right. Where is the fine line between manipulation and persuasion in terms of getting people to buy? This is such a loaded question because now we have to define what's the difference between persuasion and manipulation. But so let me make some assumptions here that you mean manipulation is bad and persuasion is good, right? Well, if you follow the principles of persuasion, okay, you may be manipulative, but you're not doing it in a way that is malicious and you're not doing it in a way that's intended to trick anybody. See, the problem comes when people try to trick everybody. There was this one copywriter many years ago bragging about how great it was with this when he was a kid. They stopped at a gas station and the gas station guy came out to them and said, you can have these cigars, what was it, 1 for 30 cents each or 3 for $1 or something like that. And I forgot how the math worked out, but if you pick the obvious one, the gas station made like an extra 2 cents off you. That's really cool idea of manipulation or persuasion. Like, that's stupid. Because they probably went home and did the math and said, that guy just got, it's 2 cents, right? Who gives a crap? But they're probably thinking, were they going to go back to him once they realize that, he kind of tricked them? No. It's good for a one-time sale. That's how the con men get away with their one time. But we're not building unless you're building a confidence man business where you're going around like Sawyer and Lost, unless you're doing that, you're trying to build a business. So there's no reason to manipulate or trick somebody. And it is all the reasons in the world to be completely transparent with them and to sell to them honestly, even beyond the legal things. If you want them coming back, you can't trick them into coming back. You can trick them into not coming back. But so I don't know, if you respect your market and you actually care about them, I don't think you have to worry about this because you're not going to do anything to hurt them. All right. It doesn't seem like the typical copywriting course specifically teaches bullet writing, but I think this may be the number one skill to have. Is it possible to learn this skill? Maybe I'm missing something.
It is probably the one part of copywriting that is the most mechanical and most important. As Ken McCarthy told, he put it this way: it's the most important mechanical skill of copywriting, as far as like actual writing skill, because everything is a bullet. Your headline is just your best bullet. Your offers and guarantees are technically bullets. So just, as far as keeping the drama in there and everything, your bullets are bullets. Your story could be thought of as variations of different bullets. So yeah, you can learn it. And you can learn it by just practicing writing bullets, studying good bullets, and writing good bullets out by your own handwriting. I recommend the great Mel Martin. If you can find any Mel Martin bullets, study those things, read them over and over and over, write them out in your own hand, practice them, and it won't take you very long to get good at it.
All right, Roberto, email players being your main thing, how would you diversify your income to avoid one-itis?
Well, I'm in the process of doing that, because that is a very real thing. You don't want, one is the most dangerous business or world in business. So, I could easily switch my business model to something else. Let's say email is outlawed, right? I would just find a different medium that I can apply the same principles that work in email to that. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do. But this is why I have my hand in a golf business. It's why I do business with AWAI. They sell my 10-minute workday product, or program as they like to call it. So, I'm in the process of that. I would like to have more. I write novels, which are, they're not big money makers, but they could be eventually if I market them and stuff. So I'm in the process of doing that. I'm in the process of looking at how to invest money better, like in income producing properties.
Like a grown-up?
Like a grown-up, finally. And so, it's a very real thing. So, he's not wrong in asking this, but that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I've noticed that this year. All right, so Ben, you talk a lot about how people are complicating things. What are the 3 most important things email marketers should stop doing immediately?
Well, first of all, what you should do is give yourself a set time frame to write emails in, because work expands to fill the time allotted. So if you give yourself 3 hours, it's going to take you 3 hours. If you say, okay, I'm setting this 33 minutes. Just keep it Gene Schwartz-ish here. Set an alarm for 33 minutes. That's how long you have to write an email. It's forcing you to actually be simple at that point. You can't get too complicated. You only have 33 minutes. So one thing people can do is stop giving themselves so much time, which is, an interesting way to look at it, I think, because most people would say, oh, you have all this time. No. Say what you got to say, get out, make a pitch and get out. Okay, that's the way to do it. So I would say don't try to see farther than you can. And I use this analogy all the time. Like, I live over here in this beautiful Pacific Ocean. I like to rub that into people, especially those who are like in heat waves and stuff, because it's like natural air conditioning all the time here. So anyone sweating somewhere watching this, I hope that this bothers you. But this ocean, I can only see so far to the horizon. I can only see so far. If I was to start walking down the ocean, I would get to a certain spot that I can see from now, and then I would see farther. Well, a lot of people are trying to do these like complicated onboarding processes. I don't know if this is really an email thing so much as a marketing thing, but it's a big part of it. They have so many different like lists and tags and sublists and all this stuff, and they just don't focus on one offer. I would say focus on one offer and then put those buyers on a buyer's list so they're not on your main list. And I know I don't do this with email players. Okay, so do as I say, not as I do. It's a very unique circumstance, but anything else is how I do it. They get off your buyer's list or off your main list on your buyer's list. You sell the people on your buyer's list something else. And you can often use the same email you use for the main list to that if it's a similar product you're selling them on the back end. Just change the details. And keep it simple. Build a list, mail it relentlessly till they buy, sell those buyers something else. If you did nothing, if most people did nothing but that, they would build a full-time income very quickly. And of course, there's one-click upsells and all that stuff, but just forget all that. I'm just saying if you just did those 2 things and study your market, you'd be fine. As for a third thing, I would say stop trying to be clever. There's somebody watching this right now who I will not name, who sounds a little too Dawson's Creek in her emails. I mean, it sounds like a Dawson's Creek script. It's like too clever. Dawson's Creep. He is kind of creepy. Dude is like crying all the time and stuff. But it's a little too much. You got to keep it simple. And I told this person, you got to knock off the Dawson. You can do it every now and then, put a little cleverness in there if you want, but not too much. Otherwise, it takes away from it, and it makes it more complicated. It needs me and makes it take longer to write. All right, let's do one more question, then I got to get out of here because I got to get on another call here.
Thank goodness. All right. Yeah. So Lauren asks, I have a few emails that I have been storing that pulled in over 100K in sales in a niche market, and I'm thinking of possibly licensing them out for recurring income product. Do you suggest we license our daily emails?
If you can pull that off, I say all the power to you. You know who wanted to license our emails, Jonathan, was Ken McCarthy. We sold this, and it wouldn't work because they were too me-based. That was the problem. So you may have that problem. If they're too your personality, you might want to offer, and this is just a brain fart, you might want to offer to rewrite it in their personality, charge them a lot, obviously, for your time and all that, or license it to them, but as an add-on. Say, I for an extra whatever, I'll adapt these to your personality. And, you could actually make a pretty good, it's actually a pretty good idea there. I think she wins the, what do you think, Jonathan?
Okay. Yeah.
Winning question?
I was going to review the questions later. I haven't even been paying attention.
No.
All right, you win. Winner, chicken dinner.
That's the winner, because if nothing else, that was a hell of a good idea for monetizing, your emails. I certainly never really put much thought into until now. So
there it is.
Sorry, everyone
Thank
else.
Goodness. No, and then there's like 89 unanswered questions. We only did 24, but that's it, man. Episode 100. Anything else you want to say?
No, but if you sent, are all those in a format?
Bro, I'm going to get them in a file and you can use them for emails. I got you, boo.
Oh, I mean, we can do more Q&A podcasts
on the shows. Live. Sure. Wherever you want, bro.
All right, man. And I'll give goodies out to people who ask questions. I some swag later on. Just keep listening to the show, because you have to be listening to the show to take advantage of these things. And that's it. That's all I got for today. Send me your address. Wait, who was it that asked the
It was
question?
Lauren Hazel, I believe.
Oh, Lauren. Yeah. This is very it's very ironic, because she literally owns like every product I have, and now she'll have this one too. So I guess
a duplicate.
It completes the collection. So Lauren, I will send that to you. I have your address, because she's an Email Player subscriber, and when it's published in a couple months. And thank you everyone else for asking your questions. I appreciate it. And until next time.
That's a wrap.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month Email Players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.